Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Flick Connection, where in less time than you spend scrolling for something to watch every night, I'm going to tell you about all the best stuff Netflix is adding in May 2024.
Oh. Brilliant!
And May is shaping up to be one of Netflix's biggest months of the whole year. This month alone features an epic Pop-Tart movie that was actually directed by Jerry Seinfeld. J-Lo fights evil AI forces in a mech suit, plus multiple live comedy specials this month, including one featuring Tom Brady. Thanks to Copilot Fitness for sponsoring this video. We'll talk more about them in a bit, but first, let's talk about the things they're adding on May 1st. This is going to be where they add movies you're familiar with, movies like The Equalizer. Here in the US, Netflix already has The Equalizer 3, which I really didn't care for. I felt like it was way too slow for this type of movie. The first one, though, is a real banger and has a lot of great moments in it. I highly recommend it. Mortal Kombat is also a lot of fun for a video game movie. Try to take this one seriously and you'll be sorely disappointed. But if you ever enjoyed playing the game, then the movie actually delivers. It's hyper violent, but also really colorful and fun and feels like a video game movie should, in my opinion. For something a little more serious, they're adding The Judge. This actually stars Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, and is one of the few dramas that Robert Downey Jr. actually starred in during his tenure of Tony Stark. I know he's getting back into the swing of it now, but for well over a decade, this is one of the only ones he did. In a very recent episode, I talked about how good the movie Deepwater Horizon is. This was actually directed by Peter Berg. And in that review, I mentioned he also directed Patriots Day, which both came out the same year, both starring Mark Wahlberg, and I think both depict a real-life event very well. Patriots Day is a little bit of a tough watch because it's such a sensitive event, but the manhunt that occurred after the bombing was not only movie quality stuff when it was in the news, but Peter Berg again translated it to screen very well. It's a top-notch flick. For some more action-packed drama, they're also adding Michael Mann's Public Enemies. The last movie he did that I really enjoyed, well, I shouldn't say that. I have not seen Ferrari yet, but it's been a long time since he made crime movies like this, and Public Enemies is a fantastic one. It's got all the things you want from a Michael Mann crime flick, including a couple of epic shootouts that just feel way more real than shootouts typically do in movies. I don't know, there's just something about the way he does them that just feels like they're really happening.
His name is Fahok, but spelled with a PH, so it sounds like Fahok.
Please!
All right, Fahok, Kanda Fahok.
Please.
They're also bringing The Gentleman back to Netflix. It was on there years ago, but the new series that's a spin-off of this movie was a massive hit on Netflix in recent months, so it's great to see it come back. I recall doing a review of this movie when it hit theaters because Guy Ritchie was back. I was so excited he was doing these gangster movies again, and I thought this was an excellent one. Very entertaining, fun to watch, but also gritty the way you want a Guy Ritchie movie to be. So if you somehow missed this movie, but you loved the new show, I can tell you the movie is excellent. If that's not enough crime for you, they're also adding Steven Soderbergh's Traffic, easily one of the best movies of its kind. There's just so many different stories with this one, and they're all excellent. If it's been a while since you've seen it, trust me, Traffic is way more rewatchable than you probably remember.
Kid, what's going on? War! We're going to war!
I could say the same thing about Starship Troopers, just a highly rewatchable satire. Lots of fun to watch, has some very interesting satirical elements, but is also just packed with action and has a lot of aliens in it, and is just a wild ride. But that's not it. They're adding a ton of stuff this month, including the original Jumanji, Liar Liar,
It was me!
Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Go, go, go!
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain.
For a little bit of culture, they're adding a new documentary on Jerry Lee Lewis. Fans of his, this should be an excellent, comprehensive documentary. But for some more culture, they're adding The Young Victoria, one of Emily Blunt's earliest movies. For some more culture, they're adding The Nutty Professor 1 and 2, 2 being The Clumps. A movie loaded with jokes that they would never make in movies today. Dark Waters is a pretty intense drama starring Mark Ruffalo.
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
Plus a lot more. Like for action, some movies I don't recommend really that strongly. White House Down is a fun one, starring Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum, but the same year they came out with a better one with Gerard Butler. This one's a decent Die Hard-esque action movie, but it's a little bit sillier than you might expect.
Ah, can you not hit me in the head with a rocket while I'm trying to drive?
The Great Wall probably falls into a similar category, one I actually haven't watched, so I'll be checking this one out this month.
Hey, I'm on your side!
Sorry!
They're also adding the Hellboy with David Harbour, one that I don't think is nearly as good as the Guillermo del Toro Hellboys, but it is a fun watch. Just don't plan to take this one seriously at all.
Are you serious?
Same goes for the original Hulk movie starring Eric Bana. It's got its moments, but it also drags quite a bit. And then the Matrix Resurrections, they already have the original trilogy, and I gotta be honest, I hated this movie. I don't even think it's so bad it's still worth watching. It's just about as vanilla as a Matrix movie could possibly get. But don't worry, Netflix is adding a ton of new stuff this month. Before talking about that, quick thanks to everyone who's already purchased one of the brand new shirt designs available. This is the first time wearing this one on screen, and the new ones are available in tank tops, something I would have never been comfortable wearing on YouTube like this without the help of today's sponsor, Copilot Fitness. Now, I turn 40 later this year, and I've got a goal of just being in incredible shape by the time I hit 40 so I can then maintain that more easily. After 3 years of working out completely by myself, this is what I looked like, actually just moments before my first workout with Copilot Fitness. And I was happy with those results, but I felt like I had stopped progressing, and I actually considered hiring an expensive personal trainer when I got introduced to Copilot Fitness. Immediately after signing up and answering a few simple questions, Copilot paired me up with my own personal trainer named Austin. After a nice long introduction call, Austin and I got to know each other well and got to know what my needs and wants were, which means Copilot Fitness can work for anyone at any level. It really is tailored to what you want to do. Austin and I settled on 5 30-minute workouts a week, which is not much more than I was already doing. I sent him a list of the limited amount of equipment I have at home, and he creates a new routine for me every single week. You can do this at home like me with no workout equipment. You could do just body weight exercises, or you could go to the gym, take a quick video of everything around, and your trainer will help create routines based on what's available to you. The workouts are fast and fun, and I actually look forward to them. And it's so nice never having to think about what I'm actually going to do. It's all planned out for you. I immediately open up the app, I see what equipment I'm gonna need, and while I'm working out, I can see the different moves in motion, which is very helpful, especially when Austin adds a new exercise to the routine. And this is what I look like now. I'm super happy with the results. I think my wife's maybe even happier with the results, and I feel like I'm setting a great example for my kids. Just click my Copilot Fitness link down in the description or type this one in, and you're gonna get 2 weeks free, which, trust me, is enough time to get addicted to this. Copilot Fitness solves a lot of the reasons you're either not exercising or not progressing. So again, to get those 2 free weeks, use my link down in the video description. But speaking of gains, let's talk about everything else Netflix is adding in May.
You won't take your shot? You better make it your best one. Nothing can kill me.
May 2nd adds a brand new drama series starring Jeff Daniels as like a high-powered real estate mogul in Atlanta. It looks like Netflix's version of Succession, or, something in that vein. Looks a little zanier. And as someone who lives in Atlanta and who has lived in the Southeast his entire life, the little bit of Jeff Daniels' accent that I heard in the trailer sounds like Foghorn Leghorn.
I'm not sure who the hell you think you're talking to.
It's possible he's actually doing a pretty good character here because he's a fantastic actor, but again, those snippets I've heard so far made me cringe a little too much. It does look like a wild show, though. You've also got Lucy Liu and Diane Lane in it, 2 reasons for me to watch. Also on the 2nd, Secrets of the Neanderthals is a documentary about early man, and it actually sounds like it'll have a lot of new, cutting-edge information in it, so it's definitely something I'll be watching. And then they're also adding Shadow in the Cloud with Chloe Grace Moretz. This got terrible reviews, but visually looks like it's a pretty stunning movie. It's one that I definitely passed on, but with it being included in Netflix, there's a good chance I'm going to preview it at least. Then on May 3rd is the first of 3 major live comedy events, and it's one of the smallest, even though it stars John Mulaney.
Coming to Netflix this May.
Everybody
can. John Mulaney presents Everybody's in LA.
Now, I'm not sure how they're gonna pull this off live, but it's him, some other LA comics, talking to people in LA, different characters, things like that. It's actually a little bit vague as to what it's gonna be, but John Mulaney is very funny, and it's interesting that he's doing something so different with his live comedy special. But also on May 3rd, we've got what is hopefully like the comedy event of the year, at least it's shaping up to be, and that's Unfrosted. This is a movie about the creation of Pop-Tarts, directed by Jerry Seinfeld. Now, obviously, he stars in it, but so do a lot of other comedy actors. I mean, a lot. And it doesn't look like this is just a straightforward story. It looks like it's got a lot of character to it and is a little bit wacky. And now, I'm not expecting a cinematic masterpiece from Jerry Seinfeld, but I am hoping he delivers a brand of comedy that is unique to him. He's got a great bit about Pop-Tarts, and I'm hoping a lot of that comes through, and that a lot of these comedy actors are able to either improvise or at least bring some character to screen. So this one is insanely promising. And Netflix is just hammering it with the comedy, because immediately on the 4th, Cat Williams is coming to the platform with a live comedy special. If you've not been keeping up with things, Cat Williams is back on the scene in a big way. He did one podcast with Shannon Sharpe and made massive news when it came to some of the stuff he was talking about. So people are hyped for this new special, and for very good reason. Cat Williams is easily one of the funniest human beings to have ever lived. Just no matter what he says, he's one of the funniest, and it sounds like he's got some stuff to say in this new live special. And then on May 5th, is the 3rd live comedy event. I'm really not sure why they're releasing them so quickly together, but on the 5th, we've got the roast of Tom Brady. Now, after what is clearly like the fall of Comedy Central, I mean, yeah, I know Jon Stewart's back on The Daily Show and they still have South Park. That's about it. We've got a roast in the same style that Comedy Central used to do those great roasts, and they're doing Tom Brady, one of the most made fun of men on the planet. I mean, yes, also one of the most successful, but he is the butt of a lot of jokes, and so it's really great for him to take part in something like this. It should be a gas, whether you're a fan of his or not. Also on the 5th, though, they're adding The Peanut Butter Falcon, which is a movie starring Shia LaBeouf. In this movie, a man with Down syndrome runs away from a nursing home to pursue his dreams of becoming a wrestler. He gets mixed up with an outlaw played by Shia LaBeouf. And even though I haven't seen it, my neighbor has been recommending it to me for well over a year and has said it's just a really good, heartwarming movie. So this is one I'll be checking out the week it releases on Netflix. And then on the 8th, they're adding an awesome movie from director Todd Phillips, the director of Joker and The Hangover. Between those movies, he did War Dogs, starring Miles Teller, and a really heavy Jonah Hill. This was the last time he was really big like this, but this is an excellent arms dealer movie. I love the Nicolas Cage movie Lord of War, and War Dogs is almost like a sequel to it. Now is a good time to mention that they're also adding a ton, and I mean an unusual amount of anime in the month of May. Did not mean for that to rhyme, but I do mean to show you a full list right here. Now, the reason I don't go into detail is I don't really know anything about these. Some of them are returning seasons, some of these are older things that are now coming to Netflix. If you're an anime fan though, you've got a lot to watch in May. And then the 9th adds a limited series that I'm very interested in. Will Forte actually plays a podcast host investigating a cold case in Ireland in the new series Bodkin. This looks like it's going to be pretty funny, but also looks like it's got a really deep crime mystery angle. So there should be a mix of genres here, and I have really enjoyed just about everything Will Forte has been a part of, and Bodkin looks very different from anything he's done before. Now, Mother of the Bride is not a movie that looks like my cup of tea at all, but it looks like a typical kind of Netflix rom-com-y thing starring Brooke Shields. So if that sounds like you, it's probably going to be right up your alley. It just, ain't up mine. Also on the 9th, they're adding The Final, Attack on Wembley. This is about a riot, basically, at Wembley Stadium, something I'd actually never heard of. The clips from the trailer look kind of harrowing, though. It looks like a pretty wild story. Not quite sports, not quite crime, somewhere in between. And then Sing Street is another supposedly heartwarming story I've heard great things about. I've just yet to see it. Another one I'll be checking out this month. On the 13th, they're adding 14 seasons of the show Archer. I had no idea that show ran for that long, 14 seasons. It's insanely funny. It's a very unique brand of humor, though. If you've never seen it and you're into episode 1, you've got a lot to binge watch. They lay it on thick, though, so if you're not into the brand of humor, there's just no way you're going to get through more than one episode. On the 14th, they're adding the Mark Twain Prize Awards for Kevin Hart. I did recall seeing the Dave Chappelle award ceremony from a few years ago, and it's an interesting event. It's a little formal, but there's also a lot of other comics there. Not quite a stand-up special, but still something interesting for comedy fans, as if there wasn't enough of that this month. On the 15th, they're adding one that I've been recommending for years on Hulu, of all places, The Clove Hitch Killer. If you've seen me recommend it and you've never seen it, now is your chance here in May. Dylan McDermott, I think, gives the performance of his career in this movie. It's beyond impressive to me. And he's someone I've thought was a good actor over the years, but in this movie, his son begins to suspect that his father might actually be a notorious serial killer, and he starts investigating. The son is the main character, but again, Dylan McDermott's performance in this it's just wild. I highly recommend this, particularly for people who love crime in movies, or more specifically, true crime. While this is a work of fiction, it does play out very much like a true crime story.
I mean, what if a thought popped into your head right now? A bad thought. Something like grabbing one of these tools and wham! There. Awkward talk with Dad. Over.
I promise I'm not overselling how good of a month this is, because on the 16th, they're adding my favorite movie from 2018, Upgrade. Now, this is another one I've been recommending hard on the channel ever since it released. It's one of the coolest sort of action, sci-fi, horror movies I've ever seen, and it blends those three genres pretty well. It does lean heavier action sci-fi. You wouldn't quite classify it as a horror movie, but it can be gory and disturbing at times. It's also a lot of fun and insanely creative. It feels very unique and fresh. If you love my recommendations, particularly like the more extreme movies I recommend, Upgrade is not like off-putting. It's not a difficult watch, but it is a wild one, and I cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and call it. It's my top recommendation of the entire month.
I cannot allow us to be killed. We are going to finish the job we started.
If that's not your cup of tea, though, Bridgerton returns for Season 3, Part 1. Fair warning, typically when Netflix is doing parts of seasons, the show is kind of in its final days. Now, every month they add at least one interesting-looking family movie. This month, the new movie is Thelma the Unicorn. At first glance, it doesn't necessarily look like one I'm going to enjoy watching with the kids, but it does look like something my daughter would go gaga for, so there's a good chance I'm going to be watching it regardless. Another interesting one that I highly recommend, even though it's from a genre I rarely recommend, is A Simple Favor. This stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, and is kind of like the ultimate Lifetime original movie. I know that's not a hard sell for most of you, but stick with me on this one. It's got a bit of an Alfred Hitchcock thing. It's this twisted thriller, but it takes place in this beautiful, like, suburban house, and there's a fair amount of, like, sex and mystery. Anna Kendrick's really great. It's a little bit funny, but is also just very intriguing. I just thought it was a really great flick, especially for this type of genre, meaning if it looks like remotely interesting to you, there's a lot to love with it. But even if it's not like something you would typically watch, which was definitely the case for me, if you like Alfred Hitchcock style stuff, there's still just a lot to love with A Simple Favor. On May 22nd, they add The Toughest Forces on Earth, which is a new docu-series where they're going to be exploring and doing exercises with different special forces from around the world. I say special forces, they're obviously called different things in different countries, but essentially you're going to get to see what training and exercises are like with different elite forces from around the world. And I should have said this at the top, but this is easily like the greatest month for comedy on Netflix I've ever seen. On the 23rd, they're adding a new sitcom created by and starring Shane Gillis titled Tires.
You're so in a bubble of harassment that you walk around, you hit nuts.
Hitting nuts is you like it.
I don't like it, but it's not harassment.
Now this is him and the folks that he's done a bunch of sketches with. If you've never seen his sketches, the Gillian Keeves sketches, which a lot of them are available right here on YouTube, it's easily some of the best sketch comedy being created today, and honestly in like at least 10 years. Very funny stuff. And this sitcom about a tire shop has all the same folks in it and looks like it's going to be the same brand of humor. Something I will be ripping through on the 23rd. And then J-Lo comes back for an action-packed sci-fi flick on the 24th. It's titled Atlas. Now, it looks a little bit basic in the sense that she's fighting like an AI enemy, but then has to partner up with an AI ally. I kind of feel like I can tell where it's going to go, but it also looks kind of awesome. She spends most of the movie in this mech suit, and yeah, it's a CGI animated Netflix movie, but as far as CGI animated Netflix movies go, this one actually has more going for it than they typically do. True crime fans, you're gonna have to wait all the way to the 29th for the big one coming this month, but Dancing with the Devil looks really creepy. It's actually about the 7M TikTok cult, which I had no idea was a thing, but apparently there's a cult on TikTok revolving around a bunch of dancers. I've never been on TikTok. I've never had it even on my phone. I'm aware of what the content is like, but to find out that there's something really seedy going on behind people just dancing on screen, I gotta find out what this is all about. And then before I show you everything leaving this month, they're actually gonna wrap up the month with two big Benedict Cumberbatch projects. Patrick Melrose is a limited drama series that was actually on Showtime just a few years ago. It's getting added on the 29th, and if you're a fan of his, this is supposed to be very good. But then on the 30th, they're adding Eric. Now they've released very little about this. I have no footage to show you, but Benedict Cumberbatch plays a man named Vincent whose son goes missing, and as he's grieving, he actually becomes friends with the monster that lives under his son's bed. Now, I'm not actually sure what direction this goes into, whether he's got some sort of mental problems or whether there's actually something supernatural, which I kind of doubt, but it looks like excellent stuff, and Netflix, they either tend to keep a tight lid on stuff they're excited about, or they start promoting it way early. This one has a little bit of promise just because of how much mystery is around it. But here is everything Netflix is removing in the month of May. If you're new to the channel, welcome, but the date listed is the date it leaves, so you need to make sure you watch it prior to the date I'm showing you. Some of the titles I've strongly recommended, I've gone ahead and put in bold so you can easily identify them, but just pause the screen if you need more time. If you think I should wear the tank top again, leave a like. If you think I shouldn't, maybe leave a comment and explain yourself. Either way, liking, commenting, subscribing tells the YouTube algorithm you'd like to see content like this again in the future. But thanks again to Copilot for sponsoring this video. I really have had a lot of fun over the past 5 weeks and plan to continue using it indefinitely. Don't forget to check out their link in the description below so you can get those 2 weeks free. But I will keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this Netflix episode, and you will see me on the next one.